here is my setup. My phone usually doesn't have a whole lot of video, so I'll try to be brief. So basically, the first thing that you need to think about when you get chickie buddies is protection from predators. So I have 3 different pens with 3 different varieties that you can choose to do that I like. So this is, they've got to have hardware cloth. You can't have chicken wire. Predators cut through that like butter. Predators, including foxes or even smaller things, could probably tear through chicken wire with ease. So it's got to be hardware cloth. So this here, this square shaped patterned cloth is hardware cloth, and this particular one is a 1/2 inch here, and the gauge is thicker on the 1/2 inch hardware cloth than it is on this 1/4 inch hardware cloth. So the 1/4 inch hardware cloth is good if you have to keep weasels and stuff out, and so is the 1/2 inch, but the 1/2 inch is definitely a thicker gauge, so it's stronger. So I actually really do like the 1/2 inch. If you have trouble with predators that are low to the ground and small, like raccoons that can stick their hands through this 1/4 inch hardware cloth and grab pieces. I've had a friend who had raccoons stick their hands through this 1/2 inch and were able to grab pieces of her baby chicks, sadly. In that case, you would have to move to a smaller gauge where raccoons can't stick, or not smaller gauge, but the smaller size. It's also a smaller gauge too. It's kind of, so this is the 1/4 inch here. So if you have trouble with that, with your chickens going to be right up next to it where raccoons could reach in and grab them, you'd want to at least have part of that covered with the 1/4 inch hardware cloth. So what I have found is, especially with the 1/4 inch hardware cloth, it's a smaller gauge, a smaller hole, smaller gauge. And check this out. So this happened a couple of years ago. A predator tried to get in here and it easily tore a hole. It must have been a bigger predator. It easily tore a hole through this 1/8 inch. So luckily, I always have behind the hardware cloth, especially lower to the ground, something to reinforce the hardware cloth, not just hardware cloth, because animals can get through the hardware cloth if they try hard enough or if they're strong enough. So that's why you see on all of my pens, especially toward the bottom, a double layer. So this one's got chain link fence and 1/2 inch hardware cloth. This one has got 1/8 inch hardware cloth, and then it's like a dog kennel metal underneath it. All of the pens have hardware cloth skirts. It's kind of a mess here now, but they all have hardware cloth skirts around the perimeter, the bottom of them, and or these patio stones. This is my favorite thing to do, is put a hardware cloth skirt with patio stones on top of it. Nothing's going to be coming up and digging through that. It would take a gorilla to get in there. Well, hi there, Coco. So this is an optional setup that I do like, is to have a protected, strong, reinforced on all sides. Roof is hardware cloth, the 1/2 inch, and then bottom with a skirt, and this one has rocks on top of the skirt, and the skirt comes out like basically the width of the hardware cloth. You can't see it here because it's been buried over the years. And then you can have a little house or coop on the inside of it, and that's really handy to keep them safe. This one is more for a temporary, like putting a broody hen in or something, where you need to have, them in here temporarily because there's not I do have a little dog crate in there for them to lay eggs in, but it's not ideal because when it rains, it gets wet. It's just not ideal. So this is more of a temporary setup. The one that we built recently was this, and it's got a cabin, and then attached to the cabin is a run. And I have learned that the bigger the run, the better. They don't want to spend time in the cabin, really. It's good if you live somewhere cold or if you have to lock them up in the cabin. It's good to have a big cabin for that reason. But for fair weather days, they don't want to hang out in the cabin at all. They want to be in the run. They want to be outside in the run as much as possible. They do go in the cabin to sleep and to lay eggs, but when the weather's nice, they don't really want to hang out in there. So the cabin, the big size, is good if you live in a very cold climate and you have to lock them up for a while because they have a lot of room. But most importantly, they need a big run for lots of space because they are very easily bored. And on this particular run, I originally just had this 1/2 inch hardware cloth, and I've decided I really like the black coated hardware cloth because you can see them in there, and it's not, you know, toxic for your hands to be touching that straight up metal. Like if you touch and mess with that straight up metal hardware cloth, that tears your skin up horribly. But dealing with the coated, especially the black coated, it's been my favorite. So I had one of my friends, he said, you better make sure you put something along the bottom, not just hardware cloth. So for extra protection, you know, against foxes or dogs or anything that's going to come along and try to get in, you've got to have something other than just the hardware cloth on the bottom if you want to be really safe. So this here is like, I forget what it's called, but I got it, I think at Lowe's maybe, but it was kind of in the garden fencing section. Wellness Beauty. But yeah, it's a really strong, and then we just attached it to the wood there. But yeah, this is their setup here to help keep them as safe as possible. Their roof in this run is covered with, it's a metal roof. Nothing's going to be getting through there. And I've looked and searched for every tiny hole I can find, and I have patchworked it up with as much hardware cloth as I can, and I continually always check just in case damage happened. Like here, I could probably put another staple in there or screw in there just to be extra safe. Not that anything could really fit through there, I'm just paranoid. But I reinforce wherever areas need to be reinforced. This door is pretty sturdy. Well, hi there, little neighbor. Are you talking? Hi, buddy. These girls, despite having this pen, let's see, I think it's 12 feet by 8. Despite having all this room in their run, they're easily bored, and these particular girls have really been naughty, Ava, about feather picking. Yes, looking around her little neck, and your little butt has been feather picked because they're so bored. Can't let them out very much because of predators here. But so there's the roof, and I put perches everywhere. I try to keep them as entertained as possible. They got all kinds of extravagant things. This here is ground, and normally we'll have like dried leaves, and we'll add dried leaves into the run, and when I do that actually works best. That because when I used to use sand, it was extremely dusty and it kills the earthworms, so I quit using sand, and I just went to regular ground, and then I clean it at least twice a day when I can, and then we put dried leaves on top of this ground, and it gives them something to scratch around in, which we need to do that again because they need more leaves. But yeah, that's a look inside their cabin there. Their cabin is insulated. So, and I should show you the cabin windows too. Hi, Ava. So before I forget, I was going to show you. Oh, I need to show you this. This is how I clean. I just get like a dog pooper scrape thing, and I scoop it up and I just toss it out in the forest. Feed the trees. Yeah, that's right, Ava. And sometimes I put it in the bucket and dump it, but that's what I've been doing so far. So on the windows of the cabin, you have to protect them as well from predators that might want to climb in the windows. So they've got 1/2-inch hardware cloth, and then this is part of a dog crate. The guy who built it cut up a dog crate that we had, an old dog crate, and he used that to reinforce the windows. So they've got a double layer here, plus they do have a screen as well. But yeah, that's our setup. Hopefully that helps somebody out. And I'll zoom out a little bit here. So I do love it. I love to sit on the porch. That's one thing I love. And I do need to clean up the yard. It's been kind of a busy year so far. There are the other 2 pens right there, and they're all covered, all sides, top, and a skirt around the bottom with hardware cloth, and then stuff on top of the hardware cloth. This one isn't as secure because it's more of just a temporary pen, but it's still secure. It's still got hardware cloth at the bottom. This is a green, which I find the color kind of tacky, which is why I ended up switching to the black. And don't just get the plain metal if you can. It's really, really hard to work with and hard on your skin. Tears it up. It takes a while to heal after you handle the metal hardware cloth that's not coated. And this black hardware cloth I got on Amazon actually, and it's great. It's the coated, and you can see the little ones through it, which is nice. Hopefully that helps somebody out, and we'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.